Hi, and welcome to Boom, It's on the Blockchain. We are in our 66th show, believe it or not, and we have our regular cybersecurity guest, John O'Malley. How's it going, John?
Good. How about you, sir?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good. So, well, we're just cracking the show. I know Daniel's going to come in as well, so let's bring that in.
Yep.
So the first topic we're talking about is Silicone Valley workers being replaced by artificial intelligence. Give us your feedback on that then, John.
Honestly, not everybody's going to be replaced. Some majorities might, some people will, but for the most part, not everybody's going to be replaced. Somebody still has to feed AI and update it. There's always going to be things that you have to manually go look at. They're making a big story out of something small because it's a new piece of evidence coming. I understand like Microsoft, Facebook, all of them are laying people off. It's because they're losing money, not because of AI.
But the articles we're reading is that once they come back to hire, are they going to hire in the same ways they've laid off? Or do you think
No, they're not going to hire in the same ways.
No.
I promise you. They're going to hire in small spurts to make it unnoticeable, but they're going to hire back here shortly. So they go through this periodically where they fire a bunch of people, hire slowly, fire a bunch of people, and then hire slowly again.
Yeah, so let's bring in the first article that was in Blockworks this year that, Meta have just posted their Q4 2022 results, and his obsession with AI doesn't look too good there. Lost $4.3 billion.
Yeah, I kind of wish I had that money. So let's be honest there. Yeah, they're going to lose money as restrictions come down and they have to start changing things. That's one part. AI, artificial intelligence in this area is going to change dramatically. So they'll lose a little bit there. He's going to make it back in stocks. He's going to make it back in, couple weeks like he always does. But overall, it's people changing how they function, how they run ads, and things like that on Facebook. That's the cause of this.
Yeah, so it's basically advertising revenue more than anything else that's causing this as well. So, but let's move on to what's behind this. This is OpenAI launches ChatGPT. So, this is now making the news everywhere. Are we all going to be replaced by this? Can you give a bit of overview of how it actually works?
So AI is programming that people put together or request information and it goes and looks and finds solutions and answers. It's a giant database on the backside, the way to think of it. Are we going to be replaced by it? No. Is it being used for the right things? Yes. Is it being used for the wrong things? Most definitely. People are using it to hack businesses. People are using it to find different things to run codes and commands against a business. But there's a lot of people going out there to do research and try to learn. Think of it as a modified search engine that allows you to give more direct information instead of you having to look for the information you need.
Right. So who's actually behind the ChatGPT?
There's a couple different people. I know Microsoft's got some play in it. Amazon says they've had some play in it. So it's really the big boys that are involved in it. But I forget the exact name of the group that says they own it. But their data comes from everybody to collect into this.
Right. Okay. And then what aspects of business? Because I know, already your chat boxes on websites that you're coming up there, they're now getting replaced. So, I used live chat in the past, but that's manually operated. Yeah, you can send out emails, stuff like that. But what I've found, even going into like Bank of America, the other day I was going out with their normal opening hours. Suddenly it's like I'm onto one of these chat boxes. But amazing thing with it is it's actually answering a lot of questions you want to find out. You know, it's just, you can't just put in live agent and get through to someone anymore. It's like you've got to deal with a chat box. But once you get over that sort of annoyance, they're actually becoming quite intuitive to what they're actually
Yep.
answering.
So the mind of the chat is growing every day. And what they're doing, they're taking the most common answers that people are doing and putting those up front. Because everybody's going to want to know a balance. Everybody's going to want to know what the last item came out of their checking account. So those are simple routine things. And that allows them to hand off other tasks to their tellers for those unique perspective on somebody who wants to make an IRA transfer or open a mortgage account. Those things require intervention. But just checking your everyday account or reordering a new debit card or credit card, that's something IA can do. And so you're going to see more of that on the lower end of stuff and replacing just the live feed there so it can develop and give free time to other bigger important things.
So let's talk about Amazon going into automation. You know, they're already saying that you're going to get your Amazon delivery in drones shortly. You know whether that's going to be. You know, it's like everything. You don't believe it's going to happen until actually
it does happen.
It does happen. Yeah. But will that be using artificial intelligence to do it, or will people be controlling these drones? How's that?
Mixture of both. Somebody's got to program that flight pattern to that house and back. And then they've got to keep regularly which one's charging, which one's not charging. So there's going to be a bit of a mixture of that. So the artificial intelligence, if you order every single day and it says, oh, look, you've ordered 500 packages, IA can take care of that because we know the routine. But if you're a new person, somebody's got to come in and configure that new launch, that new thing. If you update your addresses and things like that, somebody's got to verify it and then send it over to the IA for new groups and pushes. So you're going to see the hands on both sides. But AWS itself has been automating a lot of things on the simple task of every day, changing secrets inside AWS, AMS, updating, not just their Amazon Prime, but their video service is controlled by IA and human intervention.
Yeah, AI. I think you're saying IA, but AI.
Yeah, artificial intelligence. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I get confused as well. So, because if you think of Amazon now, anytime I go and have any problems with Amazon, their customer service is actually really good compared to say like Microsoft.
Oh yes, dramatically different.
It's dramatically better. It's like, and then they want to work with you. And then what I find is nearly everyone I speak to in Amazon, it's out to India or the Philippines. It's very rarely I deal with anyone in the US now with Amazon. So it's like, and then I've got to hand it to them. The customer service is really good from India now as well. So it's like, how much customer service is just going to keep moving further and further afield in terms of doing this? Or are they going to start to try and bring more automation in to replace these people as well?
Mixture of both, to be honest. So customer service is going to continue moving outside the United States because the cost of living in the United States is getting higher and higher. Where places like India and the Philippines, it's not really changing that much. So it's easier to hire 2 or 3 people from there than it is to hire one U.S. citizen. So you're going to see that growth there. Will you see IA involved in this? Yes, dramatically. Answering the simple questions, the routine stuff. Where's my package? Can I reorder? Can I get an update on my stuff? That's all going to be driven by IA. It's when the package goes missing or the package is crushed, then you need that human intervention into it.
Okay, perfect. Look, we've got a guest coming in here. Oh, he's disappeared again. I thought Daniel was about to put in as well. But we've actually got a quick comment coming in here as well. So, jobs will be elevated using AI. Human beings still manage and builds those AI ML programs. So just explain a little bit more about that comment.
Okay, so humans are still managing what the AIs do and where they get their information or what they are allowed to say. that is still human intervention. That's still code stored in a database on the backside that somebody says, when you get this part, you look for this and you answer it this way. You're always going to have humans interventioning or managing the AI builds. But the AI is directed to the customer or the person that's asking a routine job for this.
So if we're thinking about, like, the military in the US,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, we spend over $1 trillion a year in military in the US. But, when you come to this sort of technology, and we talk about drones, we talk about AI, and everything's sort of been developed in the military first before it becomes sort of commercial use and we start using this. So how far advanced do you think the military are in terms of drones using AI, and what they're using for, essentially military experiments prior to us actually all using it?
Well, I would say it's the difference. In the civilian world, you're seeing more AI driving consumer businesses than you do actually applications inside the military now. So it's actually reverse of what you think it is. Amazon is pushing it out to the customers before it's actually in the military hands. Artificial driving of vehicles is done by the customer base, not the military side. The military still hasn't fully grasped on that. So it really is to now that the customers drive what the military gets.
Right. And if you think about, automation and self-driving cars, once full self-driving vehicles come in, there's going to be so many jobs in America lost to this. Suddenly you think of Uber and all that. At what point do you think Uber is going to be self-driving, and then suddenly there
They
won't
are.
even be that?
So Uber's investing into this because it gives them more money without having to hire extra people. Tesla's involved in this because then it gives them more control of what goes across the network and control across the road. Just about everybody's investing in this. Yes, we're going to lose taxi drivers. We're going to lose Uber to a sense, and we're going to lose, the businesses of those. But those people can be trained to do something else, and then the automation for this is just going to develop more and more.
And then what piece is the blockchain going to play in this? Because I always think the blockchain
that's going to be,
underpins everything.
yeah, this is going to hold all this together. When was the last update? Did it get the blocks that go for the new construction that's coming out? Did it get the blocks for when a new bridge is put in? When you start looking at mileages on this thing, how do you blockchain those mileages, putting those sensors every 3,000, 5,000 to ensure that they get, the proper oil change, or the batteries in the blockchain itself will grow for EVs because there's so much development that you could blockchain those batteries, then you tie them to that car, so if somebody tries to take them, you don't lose that.
Yeah. And you're thinking about, I know President Biden's talking about putting 600,000 charging stations in, in the next 2 years.
All across the United States.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So all across the United States. And that's all going to essentially be in a blockchain tracking that. These vehicles that are going to be through automation will be connecting to that, and all that's going to be underpinned, and the data is all going to be held on the blockchain.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah. That is the goal. That is the push. That way we can ensure everything's accounted for. When something goes wrong or right, we have a history of it. We know where it went bad, where it did good, a lot of that. So there's a lot of things that can go on in this blockchain to help grow these EVs in the future.
Right. Okay. So let's have a look. There's another question coming just now as well.
Let's see.
Using AI ML, we can build intelligent cybersecurity monitoring systems which help identify potentially suspicious activity in the entire software development coding process.
Mm-hmm. CI/CD is growing in the code development and adding AI to check to see if the code is there, check to see if the code is safe and secure, or if it's got a gap. That's where AI is coming in inside our development. And it just doesn't happen there. We can use and we are using AI to protect networks for intrusion prevention, viruses that are commonly known to cut them off before they even start. We're using this in cybersecurity to even monitor, traffic that comes in and out of somebody's house. So it's there already.
Yeah, it's just the application and basically
Yep.
adoption of it.
Yep. Letting people understand that everything is there now.
Yeah, and that's why the cybersecurity industry is essentially growing so fast.
Yes, sir.
And like it's probably the fastest growing aspect of software right now, I would think.
It's one of them. It would be honestly a toss up between EV technology, cybersecurity, blockchain, and future development. I would say those four are growing. Each one of them is their own pillars, but they do have a play into cybersecurity.
Okay. All right, perfect. Okay, well, thank you very much for the questions coming in there just now from Arun Dathi. So let's bring up our next topic we were going to talk about today as well. TikTok data security protocols. I think by us covering that title, somehow we've not been allowed to publish on LinkedIn today, but we'll share it afterwards anyway. So it's making the news in a big way right now. Again, the TikTok CEO's heads to Washington, to the House. He's under questions for this. There's been a few bills put on the floor to try to stop TikTok. I know ex-President Trump was against it, thinking they're using this for spyware. What are your thoughts on TikTok to begin with then?
So personally, we don't allow it in my house. It's blocked by the firewall. It's blocked by the wireless. I lock it down on my daughter's technology. They can't get to it. Personally, there's a lot of dangers with it, just with the trends that are killing each other and things like that. But on the security side, they ask for permission to so many unique things that they don't need to ask permission for. And I understand that like a flashlight app will ask for permission to my contacts and things like that. Really don't need it. But TikTok goes beyond that. They actually want to copy my phone and they want to send it anything that's updated overseas. So there is a lot of security scrutinization on this because the data is misused and abused for even little kids to grown adults.
So you're thinking TikTok, but then obviously the big companies that are pushing agenda against TikTok as well are like Google, Meta. We talked about Zuckerberg losing 4.3 billion. But a lot of what he's lost is that a lot of the advertisers and advertising revenue have moved from Facebook, have moved from Instagram, because his models seem older, especially for younger generation. They're not the younger generation is not using Facebook anymore. And they still use Instagram, but even then, they might use Instagram Reels, they're on it there, but they're coming off that and they're all going to TikTok. So the ad revenue is started to move away.
Huge.
Yes, TikTok is huge.
And that's because there's so much more leniency. So the ad companies pay directly, there's not a lot of overhead. These people create followers and develop, short videos that use green people and things like that to make things look real that aren't technically real. And so there's a lot of development that you can do in TikTok. That's why it's driving up that way. It makes people feel unique in that aspect, where Facebook, you're putting everything on there, and so it humanizes everybody instead of superpowers certain people.
Yeah, and it's also the fact that, Facebook, you're sharing your life.
Yes.
It's when you're doing that. Instagram, it's similar, you're doing that type thing. TikTok, you can just sort of browse away. And I just think this algorithm of like the longest you're going to watch something for is a minute anyway. And you're just flicking and flicking and flicking and flicking. And it's just an easy way to consume content on this. And then I think what's interesting about it is people are originally it was people doing that sort of, is it ByteDance, the company that originally did?
Yep.
They were doing the dancing. ByteDance was the company that originally was TikTok. parent company. So people are using it for that. And then suddenly it's like, well, wait a minute, you can watch bits of movies and movies cut up and all that information's coming through. So what I'm finding when I'm actually using TikTok, and I'm on TikTok every day, by the way, everybody, because I'm releasing a lot of videos and stuff like that and chopping up what we do. And I have no rhyme or ream, which ones go viral, which ones don't. And, it can be frustrating that I'm trying to release some content and I get 200 people watching it. And then next thing you know, little kids dancing and they've got like 2 million. But, that's what people want to watch, not listen to John and I talk about cybersecurity protocols. Yeah, but more people...
we just got to get dancing kids.
Dancing kids, yeah. Or AI-generated dancing kids. But it basically is changing the way kids use it. And apps. And I find it's an app. When I look at it now, it's like, if I go to like Reels and stuff on Instagram, I don't really stay in it that long. You know what I mean? I'll have a look at the stuff. It's just like, quick flick through. But this thing just sucks you in.
Yeah, and the part of the content in the algorithm is it changes. So where Instagram, you're going through similar things. And TikTok, you might have one dancing, the next one may be somebody doing wood lumber, or 3, the next one is, watching cats. It changes so much, it keeps you entertained. Versus, like Instagram, it's the same thing. You're within the same area. Google Shorts have become in the news lately over the same thing that TikTok is doing. Just little short 30-second videos, constant rotation of data and viewing so you can grow in things.
Yeah. So it's amazing from that perspective. But now here's the worry from the data breach side of things. So if you think about the information that we are giving out to these social media companies right now. Mm-hmm. So I know at the start of the year, Meta was fined, I think, nearly $500 million in Germany for essentially selling your data. So it's, and it seems to be it's not even a breach. It's just like they're taking the data you've got and they're reselling it in different jurisdictions where it seems to be allowed to do this. So why is TikTok worse? And then what, Google, Meta, these guys are doing? What's worse about TikTok, John?
Really, truly, the worst is how they control the data. It's just all open, so you can just get whatever you want. Where Google and Facebook have been cited years ago and had to restrict early enough that they were controlling content to stay out of being trouble. But TikTok is not doing that. They're just letting it run wild. And, selling data is everybody sells data. Whether they violate it or not, get caught violating it or not, they're doing it. Facebook sells everything. Microsoft sells everything off LinkedIn. Everything on TikTok is so constantly. So people are selling it. It's just those that get caught get in trouble. With the Microsoft thing, if you didn't hear, they got kicked out of all the school systems because in Europe, because they were selling kids' data under the age of 18. Where TikTok is centralized in a unique area, it just sells because everybody signs a legal warranty coming on that they know they can do whatever they want because they tell you that right in their warning as you download the app.
Right, okay, that makes sense. Like, here's another question in as well. There. So blockchain secures the data using smart contracts, and using analytics we can monitor and predict accuracy as well. So what's your overview of that comment coming in? Thanks again.
Yes, smart contracts are the way of the future. They're short, they're quick. Using analytics to predict and see where the data goes is always going to be there. And we can monitor and predict within, milliseconds going into the future. TikTok does that, Microsoft does that, Google does that now to stream higher content that they get more ads with versus, slow down the context that they're not making as much of ads. So, that video of that person that's dancing for 2.3 million people is going to hit your scroll more often than the one video of 500 people seeing it because they have more ad content money coming in that video than the slow one does. So they are using the smart contract and blockchain already to predict that.
Yeah. And then, we're using smart contracts for so many things anyway now. We were talking about it in a previous podcast about 10 years from now, there won't be such a thing as an invoice. It'll all be replaced by smart contracts. And for people to understand out there, what will happen is everything will be agreed up front. And when, say, goods or services appear on site, or when you've completed the task, the smart contract will be executed and you'll automatically be paid. And it won't only just be in a sort of open source or open blockchain. These will be in permission blockchains as well, of everyone that's working on the project. So people can think about the security aspect of that. But really, that's going to have a huge shift in terms of how companies operate, because a fixed cost, which is an administration cost, most companies, when they merge together, they try to remove fixed costs. So when they normally merge, it's not a variable cost. Variable costs change. I'm going to merge with this other company. We only need one building instead of two. But a fixed cost is back-end administration team. But you're thinking 10 years from now, these people won't be called that. There won't be a section for invoicing. There won't be essentially an accounting department. Or if
they'll
there is,
still
it'll be very
there.
small.
It'll be just, they won't be called accounting. They'll be called the smart contract administrators or something like that. They're still going to be there. Their jobs is just going to functionality change. Because that money's still got to be accounted for, just like the big thing with the IRS. You're still going to have to pay your taxes one way or another. It's just how you do it and how it's done may be a different aspect.
Yeah, but the say credit control is going to disappear though, John. So that's an aspect of it. The thing people, 30 days, invoice is not paid. Okay, what's happening next? That whole aspect is going to start to go. And that, I think, where smart contracts will come in. And that'll make a big change. And there's a lot of, older generation people who work as the accountants doing the credit control. Young people don't like credit control. It's, I've worked with some people in the past back in the oil industry in Aberdeen, and it's usually, it's like someone who looks like a granny, but she's a sort of like, a badass granny.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's a badass granny going chasing the debts for the company. Usually BP, Shell, why they're not paying us. So, but it's going to change. But then really the big companies are wanting to push this technology in because they, even though it might mean money in their bank account that's less, it's essentially a fixed cost that they see that they can remove.
Yes, it is.
And I think that's what this technology is starting to do with the blockchain is it's going into different aspects of fixed costs that are coming in. Let me see. We had Daniel saying he didn't come in. Let's see if we can get him in time. Daniel, how are you?
Doing good, John. Doing well. Thank you.
Perfect. So we're just coming up to the end of the show, though, Daniel. So it's but we'll get your feedback on TikTok and the data security protocols because I know you're a cybersecurity expert.
Yeah. Obviously, you're hearing in the news of TikTok again with the data security controls. A lot of issues there from a cybersecurity perspective. I haven't had a chance to look much into it, but just watching the news, right? Obviously, relating to, thinking that China is spying through TikTok on its users here in America. I do think there needs to be better controls centered around the use of TikTok. All the social media platforms, particularly when it comes to the security protocols, they're pretty weak actually. And so, it's sort of like we putting a bandage on top right after, once everything hits the fan. And when you're adding security after, it does makes it challenging to establish solid security measures in place and using these social media platforms like TikTok and etc. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, I also think that we'll just force them to have more and more U.S. representation.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
once you're a U.S. company, and now we can start to enforce the rules. But when you're just operating out in China or somewhere else, it's difficult to enforce any sort of rules. It's a bit like
Exactly.
IP. It's just, I've got this thing, intellectual property rights of this. I've developed some technology. In the US, you can actually enforce that. Europe, you can enforce that. But it's pretty difficult if some guy in Beijing has stolen your idea. It's like, how are you going to enforce them to do that? But then what it does do is if they're bringing the technology back into the US, that's when they can stop them selling into this, and you're finding that definitely in terms of technology development and things like that
Exactly.
as well. So I think potentially that might help with TikTok as well as coming in. I definitely don't want to ban it because, I've just started to get a few followers and stuff. So, it's just, we're up to about 8,000, 9,000 likes, about 4,500 followers. We're starting to get more and more of the crypto people starting to follow us on TikTok. And then what I'm doing for people out there is to let them see little snippets of information. And, what I find is anything that I keep under 20 seconds, it can get quite good views. And the algorithm sort of works in terms of the entire view. So if you keep it short, people are more likely to watch the whole thing. Whereby if you keep it longer, and it might be interesting, and then it comes in there. But then what I find with YouTube Shorts is sometimes it's a little bit different because some of the YouTube short ones, they want you to have the full minute, but then they've limited it at a minute as well. So again, it's just one of those things. It's, how does it develop from there? But, even our last podcast, there was some of our YouTube short clips were actually getting, 500, 700 views, which is, and you look to maybe 1,000 people watch the podcast otherwise, but 700 people watch this 15-second, 20-second clip.
Yep.
But then you can do the next thing and you think, oh, that's going to be interesting, and 3 people watch it. So it's just the way it sort of works in terms of doing that. And if you pay for advertising, that obviously helps as well. So I need to increase my advertising budget for that, So it's, but then what's his name? He might let me start advertising Meta again after losing 4.3 billion. I'm still on the banned list right now, So I don't know why that is. So it's,
you may be on the ban list now, but eventually you'll come back.
Yeah, that's it. I was on the warning list in TikTok for a while as well, and that was actually just talking about cannabis industry. And it was somebody in talking about the industry and just the size of the industry, nothing else. And it was, so I had to write this email to them and then they sent something back. It was actually quite good in a way because you're actually communicating with someone. So they send it back and forward. Where the problem is if you're actually trying to speak to Facebook, it's like you send them an email and it's just like, link, read this. Send all the information. But it's amazing. I think people have to realize that, cybersecurity, your own data protocols, it's going to become bigger and bigger going forward. And the chances of you getting hacked are going to increase more and more, specifically by you using these apps longer, So as a final point here, oh, wait a minute, we've got Arundathi's come back with another question. Let's see. An anti-money laundering AML platform for cryptocurrencies that aim to prevent illegal activities through the use of crypto token data monitoring tracking geared toward AML over the blockchain. So he's just explaining a little bit in terms of AML, KYC, and the benefits of that for you investing in cryptocurrencies. Have you got anything to add to that, guys?
Machine learning, artificial intelligence, particularly when it comes to cybersecurity, which is a hot topic, AI and cybersecurity, right? Without really getting too technical, but just the high level overview is just you're kind of feeding the AI within its knowledge base, everything known, every vulnerability within its knowledge base relating to DDoS attacks, DOS, what they are. Put these definitions in that knowledge base of the AI and let the AI predict the machine itself. Machine learn these things, and particularly you can predict when you are about to experience or embark on some type of breach to happen, right? Just like the IBM Watson, right? With the IBM Watson, you feed this knowledge base of everything, all the healthcare, uh, uh, anatomy to the human being, you put that in its knowledge base, and everything that relating to the issue relating to the human, the problem, certain issue going on in its that Watson, it knows to kind of give you that information. Cybersecurity is the same way. You can do that same thing. Put in its knowledge base all of the vulnerabilities. Now, again, obviously threat actors, they're advanced, but let the machine learn these, put it in its knowledge base, and can pretty much predict, certain type of vulnerabilities and threats, particularly on the blockchain, as well as the network itself, right? AI and cybersecurity has huge potential, and that's what Aradati means when she's speaking of machine learning and AI, right? Artificial intelligence, sort of letting. It's like a. I like to use the term federated learning because that's what it is. It's learning, this type of unstructured type data, and then you kind of pull from it, and it does this analysis, predicts for you, right?
Just on a
Yes.
final note coming in there, Daniel, I've just brought in Skynet
Yep.
from the original AI. When Arnie was in it, it was a lot better. I didn't like the guy who was that sort of liquid metal guy that could copy what you look like, But if you think of Terminator, and that came out in like 1985, this is the fear for most people with artificial intelligence, Is it going to end up like this with Skynet taking over? And, what's going to happen to stop this happening?
Yeah, I mean, that representation is far from the truth. Actually, no, it's it's not. And John, you could attest to this. It's not quite like the Terminator.
It
Where
looks pretty scary, actually, when you just see him. I like the Terminator as Arnie. I don't like it so much as the machine underneath.
Yeah.
They just kept coming at him and stuff like that. But it was able to do copies of their voices and stuff like that. And then I was looking at another thing that was, for movie stars.
Exactly.
So there's a TikTok channel. We'll have to bring it up and find it, where it's got like Tom Cruise, and it's sort of AI generated of Tom Cruise when he's younger, and it does a lot of comments and stuff like that. But it just looks like Tom Cruise speaking. And then they're basically saying that it's actually not Tom Cruise. It's actually some sort of form of AI generated software that makes it look like Tom Cruise speaking to it. It's got like 5 million followers now.
So deepfakes is where you're getting into. They're called.
Deepfakes.
Yep. So they've done this for many different things. It was actually used on America's Got Talent. Some singers were using it, singing it, and they would appear as one of the judges, and they look just like the judges and things like that. So deepfake technology is really making changes. It's been in the news quite a bit lately, especially since the Ukraine war is going on. It's been used multiple times, trying to change the battlefield in that. So there's a lot on deepfake.
And is Facebook involved in deepfakes?
I don't know. I know that there are some people that are trying to publish things. If you look at America's Got Talent, I know it's on. That video is on Facebook, but I don't know if they understand the whole concept of it.
Yeah. So how does deepfakes work then?
It takes a series of multiple videos and pictures using certain words and creates the voice algorithm for that user. And then when somebody speaks, it overrides what you see on the screen. It's sounding and looking just like that person.
And how likely is that technology going to be coming in more and more? Are they just using it for movies and stuff like that?
Oh, no, they use it for all kinds of things. Like I said, it was used in the Ukraine war, saying Ukraine surrendered. It was postponed out. It's been used to mock movie stars, politicians. You can actually do it off your home computer if you have a beefy one. So you can build you a whole deep fake on a gaming PC that has at least 64 gigs of RAM.
Yeah.
And what's that going to is that's obviously going to have a massive impact to the movie business then as well, because suddenly people like Tom Cruise and that are never going to retire.
No, they're never going to. They use it in the Star Wars series. So if you watch the latest one where he's teaching Yoko, it's deepfake technology. It looks just like him. It sounds just like him. It's just not him. So it's actually being used quite a bit in Hollywood.
Yeah, let's. I'll bring that in just now. Let's have a look at this. We'll talk about that right now. So that's deep face technology that they're using with, it said here, Facebook right now. Facebook recognition. So this is how the Facebook recognition works. So when you come in, so you can access it coming in through your app, but then essentially this is how they actually break it down. So to talk a little bit more about that, guys.
And what they supposed to be doing this to the metaverse with this deep fake or in Facebook?
This is Deepface 2.0. So this is basically how they break down your face recognition. So this is them doing it with a model, but they can actually see it from that. So this is how they would basically come in from there, and from there, according to this article, this is what's behind it, and then it'll just be an image of you, and they'll have essentially
3D image of you.
Yeah.
3D image, and they'll be able to use the 3D image of you to be able to start talking. They'll take your voice, everything from there.
Yeah,
is that how it works?
Yes, they use different pictures and things. So this is showing you that they're going to use the front, the 45, and the 90 angles, and then they can take those and replicate it into an AI positioning. And then as they learn your voice, people say, what's your voice password? What is other things like that? They got you talking to somebody on a Facebook call. They can use your voice and add it to this using key sounds, key languages, and then put two and two together.
Yeah, so essentially they'll be able to copy you exactly because they're listening onto it. So you think of your mobile phone, and I was watch some people talk about cybersecurity as like, when you speak into your phone, is that information tracked by somebody, or how does it work then? Like for voice recognition.
So voice recognition for a business to use, that you have to give them permission, and then you have to say a series of lines, just like when you set up Google or your Amazon in your house. All those, they ask you to say phrases and things. You give them permission to use that. Your phone calls, they're not tracked. They can be tracked. So any phone can be tracked. Even burner phones nowadays are getting to where they can be tracked. But your voice conversations, wiretapping, it exists. They can do that. But is it done to every civilian at every given second? No.
Right.
John, that's correct. I mean, it's only when there's some type of probable cause, right, of the individual engaging in something, some type of criminality type practice, and that would warrant that, but not just your average everyday citizen. They're not, tracking and recording your voices or things of that nature. I was just thinking to add, John, to what you were saying with deepfakes 2.0. I'm thinking Facebook is more utilizing it for authentication purposes of the individual who has a Facebook account, right?
Here's a movie that they said they used deepface for. Gemini Man. Wasn't a very good one. I don't know if anyone's seen it. 2019.
Yep.
He's obviously, this is before he did the slap issue. But Will Smith, this was young Will Smith. So that was actually using deep face technology.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, basically, I was looking into that just now. So they had somebody sort of acting on it, but then they were able to essentially, in post, edit it. So they were able to put a young Will Smith's face on the actor itself.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So they can basically, so any video that you're watching now, they can essentially just replace someone's face with your face.
Yep, you can do that. You can replace it with animals.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't just stop at human beings, and it doesn't just stop at modern people. They just did Elvis like a year ago, so they were doing an honorship to Elvis for his birthday, and they did it constantly, his songs and everything.
And they can just create that as well. So all this technology is coming together, guys, so fast.
Yes, it's coming together quite fast, and it's growing. It's not going to stop. It's going to develop so much more and so much stronger. It's going to be hard to stop it in the future.
Yeah. So, well, that's been great to give a bit of an insight into it today. Glad you were able to get onto the show itself, Daniel. That's been great, you know. So we're working from that. We'll continue and going forward. You know, it was good to speak about TikTok. You know, I'll have to basically, well, I'm not going to read the terms and conditions. They're too big anyway, you know. So it's, you agree to everything when you do an update, people, you know. So it's, we talked about that, and then we obviously talked about AI coming in, and then deep face part of it. You know, for most people out there, they've got to realize there's so much written about this technology. You're already using it anyway with face recognition, just using one aspect of it. It's just a case of, as you start to do this for your iPhone, yeah, look, it works. I can do my face recognition. It's like next thing you know, you're 50 years younger if you're Will Smith. So
it's
perfect.
coming. I don't want them to do me when I was younger. I was ugly.
It doesn't matter. They can just make you anything they want now, isn't it? So it's we'll wait and see. So, well, thanks very much again today, guys. That's been great. Thanks for everyone who's joined us, especially from the comments coming in. We appreciate that. Apologies to everyone on LinkedIn who signed in. Never got published there today. We'll load up a version later, chopped into segments. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. You've been watching Boom It's on the Blockchain. My name's Alastair Caithness. Have a nice day.